From State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, this is Tar Heel Illustrated. It's three things from the Tar Heels 87-83 loss to Kentucky right here on this floor in front of me. Part of the CBS Sports Classic. They've been playing this thing for 10 years now, and the Tar Heels have lost the last two times they've taken on Kentucky in this event. Okay, there's a lot to get into with this game. Going to hit on three things here in the video. Make sure you go to our site, tarheelillustrated.com. Got a crap load of stuff coming out. There are a lot of things to parse through. One of them, and that's the first thing I'm going to talk about, is rebounding. The Tar Heels were out rebounded 42-32. And their last time out against UConn up at MSG, they were out rebounded 43-33. So a part of the game that Hubert Davis has been harping on a lot, didn't get any better in this game. It was 18-6 on the offensive glass for Kentucky, 15-6 in second chance points. And you can point to several things that are absolutes and say, okay, that's why Carolina lost this game. Rebounding is absolutely one of the reasons they lost this game, and maybe the primary reason they lost the game, because not only did it affect the scoring with 15 second chance points to 6 second chance points, but it illustrated that once again, Carolina was not the tougher team. And Hubert Davis said this himself. He was asked late in his press conference if the rebounding discrepancy meant that maybe they weren't as tough. And he said, yes, they need to be tougher. Armando Bacot had 6 rebounds. RJ Davis led the team with 7 rebounds. They're not going to win a lot of games when RJ Davis leads them in rebounding. That's not his job. That's not his role. Armando had 6 rebounds. He had 6 turnovers as well. Only 4 shot attempts. Not a good performance from Armando. And one of the areas Armando makes a decent living in scoring points is off the offensive glass. He just didn't have that going tonight, and that's one of the reasons he didn't even score in double figures. He attempted just 4 shots. He had just 4 free throws. And so much of that comes on the offensive glass. So this team has a lot of work to do on the backboards. Let's take away some of the games they played against the Patsies. What have they done against the better teams? In the last 2 games, they're minus 20 on the glass. That's not North Carolina basketball. That's not North Carolina basketball at all. And it's not what the expectation is for this team. They should be a much better rebounding team. And their head coach has said in MSG after that game, and he told us 2 days ago at the Dean Dome for a press conference, he said, we've been working on it, and it absolutely will change. Well, it didn't change tonight. 42-32, 18-6 on the offensive boards. That's not going to win you ball games against good teams. Kentucky is a good team, and Carolina lost. By the way, the Tar Heels fall to 7-3. Kentucky improves to 8-2. Before I get into the last 2 things, RJ Davis, 27 points. It's the sixth straight game, I think, 6th straight game in which he scored 26 or more points. 6th straight game he's led Carolina in scoring. That kind of stuff hasn't happened for a long time in Chapel Hill. We'll get into a bunch of that stuff in our write-ups as well. Cormac Ryan came out of his slump. He finished with 20 points. Harrison Ingram, the only other Tar Heel in double figures with 10. He was kind of bottled up a lot tonight as well. The second thing I want to get to are turnovers. Rebounding, I guess, is reason number 1 this team lost. Reason number 2 is the turnovers. And, of course, that last one, which was just a devastating turnover, it was sort of the exclamation mark on Kentucky winning this game. It was Elliot Cadeau, who was inserted into the game very late after Kentucky took a 3-point lead. Carolina called a timeout. Elliot he actually left the game at the 9:06 mark and didn't play for almost 9 minutes. He was struggling defensively tonight. He was just struggling in a lot of areas tonight. Looked a little outmatched at times, and Hubert took him out. They were getting good stuff from Seth Trimble, who, by the way, was plus 10 on the floor, and they were getting good stuff from Jalen Withers, who was plus 13. And when Withers was out there, it moved Ingram to the 3, and that moved Ryan to the 2, that moved RJ to the 1, and there was no spot for Cadeau in that stretch. But that play, when he passed the ball that hit Ryan in the back, we've looked at the review of that, the replay of that, and I think Ryan was going to set a down screen because RJ was down to the block. Armando was setting a screen. I think Ryan was going to set a screen on the help, and it was going to pop RJ out for a catch and shoot 3 from the right wing. It never materialized. We asked Hubert, the players, about it. Hubert said, hey, it's just a turnover. He didn't want to get into what was actually happening there. But clearly, I think based on what we were told, Elliott made a mistake. Mistakes happen. He's a freshman. He'll learn from it. But that was just one of 17 turnovers. The other 17 turnovers were damaging as well. They led to 19 Kentucky points. Again, you get out rebounded by 10 and outscored 15-6 on second chance points, and you have 17 turnovers that lead to 19 points. You're not going to win the game. You could talk about Baycott not getting shot opportunities and not doing a good enough job getting himself available. You could talk about how Ingram was bottled up some, and some of those back ends to the lane just weren't there. Kentucky did do a nice job on him. You could talk about Cadeau scoring just 3 points. You could talk about a lot of these things. I think in games like this, they want their point guard to produce a little bit more. But the rebounding and turnover numbers are it. In fact, Baycott had 6. RJ Davis had 5. Cadeau and Ryan each had 2. Baycott's stat line is just it's there in the rebounding, it's there in the turnovers as negatives for this team. And of course, he didn't even score in double figures either. Armando will be much better moving forward, but it was a tough night for him. The third thing is, what does this mean? We usually talk about what does this mean. I'm going to hit on a couple of things. A couple of us were talking at MSG a week and a half ago during that game when RJ was just scoring late, similar to what he did here tonight. That's great. He's putting up numbers that are going to be in the record books for a long time, and he's going to get personal honors. But I don't think this team is playing at its best when RJ has to go for 27, when he is going for 27. I just don't. 20, yeah, 18, 20, 27's a lot in every game. What happens Wednesday night against Oklahoma if he's off and only goes for 16? Do they lose by 15 in that game? They can't become too reliant on him. And I thought that there were some sets that they ran late where they were way too reliant on RJ. Dribble. He finally one time passed off to Harrison. And Harrison, I believe, scored in the lane and was fouled and got 2 free throws. But there was a lot of standing around as the game went on when RJ had the ball in his hands, especially the last 10 minutes of the game. He's a great player. He's a phenomenal player. He's a guy that can fill it up for 27 a night against big-time competition. He's proven that. But I don't think that's the best case scenario moving forward for this team. The other thing I already hit on about Armando. Armando needs to produce. He has not been producing lately the way that was expected. He was outstanding out of the gate to start the season, and he just kind of hasn't really been Armando. Nothing about an injury. I'm in an awkward situation here on the TV part of the press row, and I'm in a tight squeeze. If you guys can see it, you kind of chuckle because I'm sure if anybody walks by, they'll laugh. So I'm trying to adjust myself. But Armando needs to be Armando. And if he's Armando, then maybe RJ doesn't have to go off for 27. If Armando's scoring 9, RJ's going for 27, maybe Armando at 16, RJ needs 20. You're a more balanced team. You're harder to defend. And when you get in some of these situations late, they could get more buckets than they are. The other thing is the bench help. And these are all tied in together. And what does this mean? They got production from the bench tonight. Bench played 47 minutes. Jalen Withers had his best game. He shot an air ball, I think it was, or he missed a shot in the lane. And sometimes he looks a little out of control with some stuff, but he helped them a lot. He was plus 13. He had 4 points, 4 rebounds, I think it was. He blocked a couple of shots, affected a couple of others, gave the team a lot of energy. So did Seth Trimble. Trimble played 16 minutes. Withers, by the way, played 19 minutes. Trimble played 16 minutes, 6 points. They're both fearless. This team tonight showed once again that what's becoming maybe a narrative about them is that they're not tough enough. Like they need to be tougher. And those aren't my words. Those are Hubert's words. Hubert said it tonight, but I agree. And Trimble and Withers play with toughness. So maybe they've justified more time. And I said the other day, just stick Withers out there and let him play. He kind of been playing lately like he was looking over his shoulder. A guy like that who's logged as many minutes in the ACC as he has, just stick him out there and let him play. It kind of helped him tonight. So maybe moving forward, that's a positive. There's 2 guys perhaps he can trust off the bench. I know he can trust Seth at this point. The other thing is suddenly 7-3 doesn't look so good. It looks kind of meh. Now I know losing to Villanova in overtime on a neutral floor, losing to UConn up in MSG, and losing this game when they didn't play that well and they had a possession to tie it with 10 seconds left. To me, that speaks a lot about some of the clawing. And I do think there's some mental grit there, but some of the physical grit needs to be nudged a little bit further along. And it's shown right there on the glass. This needs to be a better rebounding team. I thought they defended pretty well. Kentucky came in shooting 58%. Carolina held them under 42. I thought they did a pretty good job defensively with the cuts. They got caught in some bad switches again, but they fought through a lot of that stuff. I thought the guards did a little bit better job fronting when they got caught in bad switches and they were guarding bigs than they had before. But 7-3 puts a lot of importance on the Oklahoma game. This team needs to build its resume a little bit more here in the non-conference, and they only have 2 more opportunities with non-conference games. Only one game that's going to help them, Oklahoma. Charleston Southern will help them at all. They could beat them by 50 and drop in the net rankings. Charleston Southern is really struggling. So there you have it, guys. Rebounding was bad. The turnovers were bad, and both of those things were decisive. And then what this means is this is a still a good basketball team. John Calipari said it's a Final Four team, but they have got to get Armando up. They got to help RJ more and don't create an environment where RJ just has to go nuts and feels like he has to carry the team for a long time. I don't think that's a winning scenario. And they need to get a little bit more from the bench outside of Seth and Jalen. Jalen Washington needs to give them a little bit more. Wojcik played 2 minutes tonight, and he actually made a nice shot and then had that tackle basically on the fast break. He should have just gone up and whacked the ball. But this club has some searching to do. I wasn't sure that we would get close to Christmas and think that this team has some searching to do, but they do. It's a tough schedule. A lot of teams are going to lose these games, but this team has the talent and the experience and the skill to have fared better. And maybe now that Villanova loss really will come back to haunt them, or it certainly looms a little bit larger. Villanova struggled some, but 7-3 instead of 8-2. And they've lost 2 in a row, and they got to play the number 11 team in the country Wednesday night in Charlotte. So, and they're going to be tough. They're physical, tough to guard. They will guard you. So Carolina's going to have to bring a lunch pail, not just the mental lunch pail, but the physical lunch pail as well. I'm AJ, and I appreciate you guys stopping by. We'll have 5 daily drops for you this week, by the way. We're going to load up. And of course, we've got a lot of football stuff and a lot more basketball stuff. So thanks for checking us out tonight, guys. See you.